All right, so like I said, today we're gonna do some more recap of my 50 review milestone here, live on Twitch TV. If you want to come join us, 11 a.m. Eastern time. I do alcohol related segment, spirits related segment. So we're gonna do kind of a rapid fire of 10 bottles that for me ranks roughly in the mid range. So that's like straight in the middle. Not the worst ones, but not the best ones. The ones that did okay. That's kind of what we're going to talk about today. So first one, and this one scored 55 out of 100. So to be clear, the way that my system kind of works is like, so long as it's between 49 and 64, we call it good. So all these bottles are considered good, in the good range. So they're all good. But this one, kind of a weird one. This was the Lot 40, Lot 40 Explorations Peated Quarter Cask Strength. And again, this is 100% rye whiskey that was finished in a peated quarter cask, which is probably a Lafroig peated quarter cask. But we don't know if we're 100% sure. 55.5% ABV. This is an odd one. Again, it's interesting. It's something that's like wild and weird and funky. But it also kind of like didn't really feel like it worked that well. The flavors, despite being at cask strength, were not that prominent. I didn't get a whole lot of depth of flavor in this too. It did have like a interesting like wintergreen skull kind of note, which is kind of cool. But missed a lot of like the rye notes, like the licorice and root beer and this kind of thing, or dill. It kind of like ended up like being like sort of grassy and not that flavorful. But it did okay, not bad. I expected more for this proof and for this price point. But if you're in for something weird and interesting, maybe. Maybe. Next, I rated this 56 out of 100, and this was the Hibiki Harmony blended Japanese whiskey. So this one, again, it's smooth. It's got a little bit of Mizunara oak in it. So there's kind of a little bit of that like coconut meat buttery thing going on. But other than that, it kind of drinks like almost like a regular old kind of bourbon barrel-esque blended scotch, except it's got a little bit of Mizunara peaking and very smooth, kind of a delicate whiskey, but especially for the price, didn't super duper impress. Again, this is like where I am getting fairly expensive. It's almost at 200 Canadian dollars for one of these, which it just does not drink at that price point at all. The value is not there. But I guess that might be like normal for Japanese whiskeys. It was okay. Cool bottle. Nice, but nothing amazing. If anything, it gives you a little bit of that like tickle of Mizunara thing going on, but I don't know how much of that Mizunara is actually in the blend at the end of the day. Okay, so next off, and I rated this one again 56 out of 100. This is Teeling, the Teeling single malt Irish whiskey. Now this one is kind of different because this is a fairly old bottling of this. I kind of looked at their website, and their newer kind of Teeling single malt is completely different casking than this one. So this is one that was bottled in 2018. This is a fairly old edition of the Teeling single malt. I think the new one is like got different barrels, but again, it's the interesting part about this one is there's 5 different wine barrels on it's finished in. If I can remember right off, it's like sherry, Madeira, Cabernet Sauvignon, white Burgundy, port. something like that. It's a lot of different wine, a very winey whiskey. Not that it complains. But again, it's the same kind of thing. You get a good wine hit near the mid palate, back palate. But aside from that, that's kind of like the most unique thing about it. Nothing too crazy going on aside from that. Pretty tasty, but it's not like you can detect all those wine barrels in there. It's kind of just like, there's wine character about it, but didn't really kind of like make those wine notes kind of known all throughout. So it ended up being like that crazy. Not bad. Not bad. Next one. A discontinued one. This is the, again, 56 out of 100. We rated the Compass Box Oak Cross, which I think this was discontinued in 2021. So this is like a bottle you can't get anymore. Again, it was like, it's okay. It's got some toasty notes into it, but it's also like just kind of like, what you'd expect from bourbon barrel blended Scotch. Some nice toasty characters, a little bit malty, a little bit toasty, but nothing you should probably go out and search for. You're not missing anything by trying to find one of these on a dusty or secondary market or something like that. Probably a reason it got discontinued so early on. And I know Compass Box is under new ownership and they're changing a whole bunch of stuff. So I think they're discontinuing a lot of their kind of older line products. But I would not go searching for this personally. It was okay. And by okay, I mean good. These are all good. They're they're good. They're not bad. But we're starting to get up there into the more interesting ones. So this one, 57 under 100. So we bumped up a little bit. This is the 40 Creek Confederation Oak Reserve Canadian whiskey. So this is the one where they have it finished in Canadian white oak. That's the Confederation oak, I suppose. This one does have some interesting components to it. It's very buttercream on the nose. You get some of that on the palate. Maybe a little bit of raisins too, despite the fact that there's no sherry really involved here. But the most notable thing about this for me is its strong buttercream notes, which is not something sometimes you say that about whiskeys, but this is the best example I've ever had of buttercream. And it's not like any other kind of buttercream sort of note. It's very obviously buttercream to me. But of course it's also 40% alcohol, nice, approachable, creamy Canadian whiskey. Nothing complicated about it, but it's got some good notes, some good flavor impact, 40% alcohol. Pretty tasty. Something a little different, not terribly expensive. Pretty good. Pretty good. Next up, 58 out of 100, we rated the Maker's Mark 101 limited release proof. And I joke that 101 is a limited release proof because I think it was travel retail, or it was distillery exclusive and travel retail, and now it's fucking everywhere. I don't know. It's not limited at this point. And again, it's a step above, I think, your typical kind of run-of-the-mill bourbon offering, especially your run-of-the-mill Maker's Mark offering. The problem with this one for me is that near the back of the palate, early in the finish, there's a real spike in spiciness and a real spiky spice note. And I kind of love the palate, cherry cola notes and stuff like this. But this one particular part of the whiskey for me, almost felt so unbalanced. It's the spike and spiciness was just completely out of proportion for all the other flavors going on here. So it kind of lost some marks for me in that kind of area. Aside from that, pretty good. Maybe you like that spice kind of thing, but to me it was just too heavy-handed. too spiky on spice notes for me to like kind of give it a better score. Maybe that'll like change in the lower bottle fill, but it hasn't really changed for me so far. So it's good. Again, these are pretty good. Again, we're almost in the 60s, so that's pretty good. We're above the average at this point. So these are all above average ratings, I suppose. Next one. So another discontinued Compass Box product, Compass Box, a Spice Tree, and somewhat when we started rating stuff, I did prioritize like bottles that were older, that were low fill level, that were like, hey, we got to get this reviewed before it gets empty, kind of thing. And some of these are older bottles I've had for quite a while, and of course, like this one is like extremely low fill level. You get like maybe 2 or 3 grams left out of this thing. But again, this one, again, not bad. I seem to think this one had like apple cider kind of notes to it. Again, it's like pretty decent. It's typical to me, like spicy ex-bourbon, blended scotch kind of notes. You get like those orchard fruits. You get some like vanilla and spices, this kind of thing. It was pretty good. But again, it's one of those that like, I think this is a favorite for people because it's like, you know, good whiskey, good price point, well crafted, but it's also not like anything that is like mind blowing or that you know, super special, at least in my opinion. I don't know how much the stocks of this will remain because this is just freshly discontinued. There might be some around for quite a while still, but I'm not sure that I'm going to miss this particular offering. Again, it's good. It's pretty good, but nothing I would like be wowing over at auction or something like that. All right, next up, 59 out of 100. We got the Sneaky Bourbon, the Rabbit Hole Cave Hill. And again, this is the one that does say Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. And there is a rule about straight bourbon whiskey where either it has to have an age statement or be at least 4 years old. And while it doesn't look like this has an age statement, it does have a sneaky 3-year age statement like on the back. So this is technically a 3-year-old bourbon. And it kind of like, again, this Rabbit Hole distillery kind of like talks about how it's crafting things are like a little different than your typical bourbon. This is a particular, this one in particular is a 4-grain triple malt mash bill. It has honey malted barley in it, malted wheat, malted barley, honey malted barley, 70% corn. And it kind of like the notes when you read about this and what kind of drew me to it is kind of like there was notes that kind of resembled scotch, like apples and citrus and honey. The palate and nose that they talked about on their website looked kind of like scotch more than like a bourbon. So we were kind of curious if this really like was a new dimension on bourbon notes, and it sort of is. To me, you can tell this is bourbon when you drink it. You know it's bourbon. It's not like fooling anybody, but it's very not. You know, it's dialed back on the sweetness. It's not. To me, it's almost like a bourbon with a lot of the sweet notes stripped out of it, so that you can kind of like showcase more of that like fruity and spicy characteristics. So that was kind of an interesting thing for me. Again, it rated kind of pretty well because it was kind of just doing something that other bourbons kind of don't really do, despite being clearly bourbon. So again, it was pretty good, not bad, but didn't wow me though. It didn't really like kind of like really surprise me, like, oh, I can't believe this is possible in bourbon. It still kind of was like bourbon, but a little different, something a little different. I think they have like a PX cask to these guys. We might try that at some point. That sounds maybe good. Maybe. What else we got? Next one. So 60, we were at 60 out of 100. This was the The Redbreast Lestau edition. So this is a 9 to 12-year-old Redbreast, which again is a Middleton / Jameson product that is entirely matured in sherry from this particular Lestau brand. I'm assuming. And again, to me, this one, again, 46% alcohol, a bit of a bump up compared to the Redbreast's like 12-year. And this one doesn't have the age statement, but to me, that extra alcohol really kind of shows more flavorful. Of course, it's more like on the sherry characteristics because it's sherry matured. But there's like a nice butteriness on the palate for this. And kind of like overall, the like strength of the flavors kind of really made it obvious that it overshadows like the 12-year-old. I don't know about the 15, but that bump up in ABV, I think, did a lot of favors to kind of make this a more appealing offering. The 12-year to me is kind of just a little soft, and this kind of kicked it up a notch. So, pretty good. Not bad. And the last one we got, so this is number 21, is the Glendronach 12-year-old Highland Single Malt Scotch Whiskey. So this is a one that's a mix of PX and Oloroso. So no bourbon nonsense going on in here. And this one is always like, to me, richer and darker than other sherry offerings. Like almost like gets into some of those nice like leather and tobacco notes that you don't always get in sherry. Not like all super turbo on like the raisins and fruits, and it's got some other kind of deeper, richer notes that I kind of like. Really love this whiskey. Very tasty, but kind of like the added dimensions to it are not that wide. It's heavily sherried 12-year-old Scotch and doesn't do too many other things. So 60, we scored over 60, pretty good, not bad. So yeah, that's our kind of like mid-range reviews. And then next up will be in the upper echelons of the 50 that we did. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.